Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a bit of a shortcut, really, straight into some of the, the fiddly bits of English, the differences between British and American usage.
Yeah, the ones that can sometimes trip you up.
Exactly. We've got about 50 word pairs here, taken from various sources listing these differences. So if you've ever been slightly confused or you're just curious, well, you're in the right place.
Definitely.
Our mission, if you like, is to unpack these words' pronunciation, meaning how they're actually used, give you a real feel for them.
And it's fascinating, isn't it? Because they're not just random swaps. There's usually a bit of history or culture behind why one word stuck in the UK and another in the US.
Like linguistic detective work?
Kind of, yeah. Finding clues in everyday words.
Okay, let's start with professions then. Say you're in the UK, need some legal advice, maybe buying a house.
Right.
You'd probably look for a solicitor. That's so true, so you might hear, she spoke to her solicitor about the contract.
Solicitor. Got it.
But if you're stateside, similar situation, you're looking for an attorney.
That's attorney.
Attorney.
Yeah.
So the sentence might be, he hired an attorney to represent him in court.
And the thing is, while both are lawyers, the roles aren't quite identical, especially historically.
Yeah.
In the UK, you had solicitors for sort of general advice and prep work, and then barristers who argued in the higher courts.
Right.
Whereas attorney in the US is, well, a broader term. It covers more ground, reflects a slightly different legal system structure.
Interesting. Okay. From the law courts to the calendar, that lovely season when the leaves change color.
Ah, yes.
In the UK, we call it autumn. The leaves fall in autumn.
Classic.
But over in the US, it's fall, as in we love to travel during the fall.
And what's really interesting there is that fall is actually the older English term.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from fall of the leaf.
Yeah.
Autumn came in later from French. So the US kind of stuck with the older version in a way.
Huh. Didn't know that. Okay, let's switch gears. Things that move us around. Big vehicles carrying goods.
Right.
In the UK, that's a lorry. That's lorry. The lorry was parked on the motorway.
Lorry. Yep.
But in the US, it's a truck. The truck delivered the goods at noon. Simple swap.
It is. And it extends to parts of the car too. The storage bit at the back.
Ah, yes. In the UK, that's the boot. Put your bags in the boot.
Boot makes sense.
Whereas in the US, it's the trunk. The groceries are in the trunk.
Trunk. Two completely different words for the same space.
And the roads themselves, the big fast ones, in the UK, it's a motorway. The motorway is busy.
Motorway.
But in America, it's a highway. The highway is blocked. Good to know if you're driving over there.
Definitely. And when one road goes over another one,
oh, yeah.
in the UK, that structure is often called a flyover.
The slam, Joe. Drive over the flyover.
Flyover. Okay. But in the US, you'd probably call it an overpass.
Yeah.
Go under the overpass.
Yeah.
One goes over, one passes over. Similar idea, different focus.
Subtle. And what about those cars with the extra space at the back? Good for families or luggage.
Ah, the long ones.
Yeah. In the UK, an estate car. So you jump in the estate car.
A state car. Sounds quite grand.
And in the US, it's a station wagon. Has a strawn.
She has a station wagon.
Station wagon. You can almost picture different eras or lifestyles with those names, can't you? A state car sounds a bit more country manner.
Maybe. Well, station wagon feels very American road trip.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move indoors, where you live. If it's a self-contained unit in a bigger building,
right.
In the UK, we usually say flat.
Flat? Common as muck.
But in the US, it's an apartment. They just moved into a new apartment?
Apartment, yeah. And sometimes flat in the UK might imply it's all on one floor, maybe more than an apartment does in the US, but generally they mean the same thing. Fair enough. Now, time off. Getting away from it all.
The best bit.
In the UK, you go on holiday. They're going on holiday to Spain.
Holiday. Love that word.
But in the US, it's a vacation. Mexicans, they're going on vacation next week.
Vacation. Sounds a bit more planned, maybe.
Perhaps, and a specific length of time off 2 weeks.
Ah, yes.
In the UK, we often say fortnight. We'll be on holiday for a fortnight.
Fortnight. Such a great word. Doesn't get used much in the US, though.
No, you just say 2 weeks.
Yeah, plain old 2 weeks.
Right. Time for snacks. Crucial differences here. With your tea in the UK, you might have a biscuit.
Bosk. Would you like a biscuit with your tea?
A biscuit. Lovely. Sweet, usually crumbly.
Like, ask for a biscuit in the US.
Oh, be careful. You'll get something totally different. More like a savory scone, often served with gravy.
Exactly. What the U.S. calls a cookie a skicky, like he grabbed a chocolate chip cookie, that's our biscuit.
That's a classic confusion point. Cookie versus biscuit, very different things. Definitely one to watch. And staying sweet, those sugary treats, boiled sweets, chocolates, etc. In the UK, collectively, they're sweets. Sweets, he loves sour sweets.
Sweets, yeah.
But in the US, it's generally candy. It's candy. The kids ate too much candy.
Candy, yeah. Much broader term over there.
Okay, let's think about things arriving at your house through the letterbox.
Okay.
In the UK, it's the post. PS, the post arrives at 9
The postman brings the post.
Right, but in the US, it's the mail. Meal. The mail is late today.
A mailman brings the mail. Or mail carrier, I suppose.
Same system, different noun. Now, paying for things, couple of key ones here. That paper slip you write.
Yep.
In the UK, it's spelled CHEQUE, a check, a check. He paid by check.
Check. Looks a bit French.
But in the US, same sound, tiek, but spelled CHECK, a check. She wrote a check for the rent.
Just a spelling thing, but yeah, noticeable.
And then in a restaurant, when you want to pay.
Ah, yes. Important.
In the UK, you ask for the bill. Can I have the bill, please?
The bill. Standard.
But in the US, you ask for the check. Can I get the check?
Right. Using the other check can definitely cause a flicker of confusion if you use the wrong one.
It can. And actual paper money.
Yep.
In the UK, you'd have, say, a 20-pound note.
That's a poo.
In the US, it's a $20 bill.
A bill.
Yeah.
So bill for money, check for restaurant payment. Got it.
Right. Okay, entertainment. Going out to see a film.
Okay.
In the UK, you go to the cinema. We went to the cinema last night.
Cinema. Nice.
In the US, it's usually the movie theater. Says he saw the movie at the theater.
Movie theater. Though theater in the U.S. can also mean live stage plays, right?
Yeah, context usually makes it clear, though. And staying in, watching the box.
Ah, the TV.
Well, in the UK, informally, it's often the telly. Sorry. What's on the telly tonight?
Telly. Love that. Very British.
Whereas in the US, it's just TV.
That's
This is we watched a new show on TV.
straightforward TV. No messing about.
Right. Time to talk about rubbish, waste disposal.
Ooh, glamorous.
In the UK, you take out the rubbish. Take out the rubbish, please.
Rubbish.
But in the US, it's trash. Trash. He threw it in the trash.
Trash. Sounds a bit harsher somehow.
Maybe. And where does it go? The container. In the UK, often a dustbin. Dustbin. Throw in the dustbin.
Dustbin. Feels a bit old-fashioned now, maybe. Though still used.
True. Wheelie bin is common now. But in the US, it's a garbage can. It's in the garbage can.
Garbage can. Or just trash can. Either works.
Okay. Fueling the car. That liquid gold.
Vroom, vroom.
In the UK, it's petrol. It's petrol. We stopped for petrol. In the US, it's gasoline. They usually just call it gas. They filled the car with gas.
Gas. Even though it's liquid. Funny that.
It is, isn't it? Right, clothing. This one's important. Leg coverings.
Uh-huh.
In the UK, trousers.
His trousers are too long.
Trousers.
Definitely.
In the US, these are pants. Pants. She bought a new pair of pants. Now the crucial bit.
Ah, yes. The pants danger zone.
In the UK, pants means underwear.
Right. What Americans might call underpants or briefs.
Yeah.
So asking a Brit where they bought their nice pants could get awkward.
Very awkward. So UK trousers, US pants. UK pants, US underpants. Remember that one?
Duly noted.
Okay, when it gets colder, that knitted thing you put on.
Yep.
In the UK, it's a jumper. I knitted this jumper myself.
Jumper. Cozy.
In the US, it's a sweater, Seastren. She wore a red sweater.
Sweater. Pretty straightforward swap.
And on your feet. For sports or casual wear.
Okay.
In the UK, trainers. Fashion ones. I bought new trainers.
Trainers. Because you train in them, I guess.
Makes sense. But in the US, they're usually sneakers. He wore red sneakers.
Sneakers. Because they're quiet. You can sneak around.
That's the story, yeah. Okay, navigating buildings, going up.
Without stairs.
Yes. In the UK, you take the lift. Take the lift to the third floor.
Lift. Short and sweet.
In the US, it's the elevator. Use the elevator instead of the stairs.
Elevator.
Ah.
So it's a bit more, I don't know, mechanical.
Maybe. And getting water in the kitchen or bathroom, the fitting.
Right.
In the UK, it's a tap. Turn off the tap.
Tap. Hot and cold taps.
In the US, it's a faucet. The faucet is leaking.
Faucet. Another clear difference.
And where you hang your clothes, not the rail, but the piece of furniture or built-in space.
Okay.
In the UK, often a wardrobe. usually freestanding. The wardrobe is full.
Wardrobe, like the Lion, the Witch, and the...
Exactly. But in the U.S., it's more likely a closet, often built in. I hang the shirts in the closet.
Closet. Yeah, wardrobe sounds a bit more specific in the U.S., maybe like an antique.
Right. Moving on to childcare. Babies. That essential absorbent item.
Oh, yes. Very essential.
In the UK, it's a nappy. In nappies, change the baby's nappy.
Baby.
In the US, it's a diaper. The baby needs a new diaper.
Diaper. Completely different word.
And that thing they suck on for comfort.
The pacifier.
Or... Exactly. In the UK, it's often called a dummy. The baby dropped his dummy.
Dummy.
But in the US, it's a pacifier. She gave her a pacifier.
Pacifier seems a bit more descriptive of what it does, maybe.
Perhaps. Okay, need light in the dark, portable light source.
Yep.
In the UK, grab a torch. Use a torch in the dark.
Torch. Like the Olympic torch, but smaller.
Ah! And in the US, it's a flashlight. Grab the flashlight from the drawer.
Flashlight. Again, quite descriptive.
Back to cars briefly. The cover over the engine.
Right, at the front.
In the UK, it's the bonnet. He lifted the bonnet to check the engine.
Bonnet. Like an old-fashioned hat?
Sort of. In the
Yeah.
US, it's the hood. HD. Pop the hood and let's look.
Hood. Like on a jacket.
Okay. And where do you leave the car? The designated area?
Parking space.
In the UK, it's a car park. The car park is full?
Car park. Makes sense.
In the US, it's a parking lot. We found a spot in the parking lot.
Parking lot. Equally logical.
Crossing the road safely. Those painted lines.
Pedestrian crossing.
In the UK, often specifically a zebra crossing.
Yeah.
Sorry, being pushed in because of the stripes. Wait at the zebra crossing.
Zebra crossing. Very visual name.
But in the US, it's generally a crosswalk. Use the crosswalk when it's safe.
Crosswalk. More about the action, perhaps.
Where do you get your prescriptions filled?
Pharmacy.
Well, in the UK, traditionally, the chemist, I picked it up from the chemist, though pharmacies use too now.
Chemist. Yeah, it feels very high street.
In the US, it's often a drugstore. You can get that at any drugstore, which also sells lots of other things too.
Right. Drugstore is very common. Pharmacy as well, but drugstore feels more general.
Buying tickets for travel. You want to go somewhere and come back.
Okay.
In the UK, you buy a return ticket. I bought a return ticket to Oxford.
Return ticket. Simple.
In the US, it's a round-trip ticket. Do you need a round-trip ticket?
Round trip. Paints a picture of the journey.
Directions now. Opposite way to a clock's hands.
Turning left. Ish.
Huh. In the UK, anti-clockwise. And guess what's when? Turn the key anti-clockwise.
Anti-clockwise. Against the clock.
In the US, counterclockwise.
Costa Casa Gullis wise. Twisted counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise. Same meaning, different prefix.
And if the road ahead is blocked and you have to go a different way?
An alternative route.
In the UK, you follow the detour. Take the diversion due to roadworks.
Diversion.
In the US, you follow the detour.
Yeah,
Follow
exactly.
the detour signs.
Detour. Both get you around the problem.
Right. Education. This is where it gets really interesting and potentially confusing.
Ah, yes. Brace yourself.
In the UK, a public school is actually a very exclusive, private, fee-paying school, like Eton or Harrow. He studied at a public school.
Right. Totally counterintuitive if you're coming from the U.S. system. Public meaning open to the public if they can pay, essentially, historically. Exactly. Whereas in the U.S., a private school sober at school is the fee-paying one, not funded by the government. He goes to a private school, and a public school in the U.S. is the state-funded free one.
It's almost a complete reversal. That's probably the single biggest point of confusion between the two systems' terminology.
Definitely. And the head person at a school.
The boss.
In the UK, the head teacher.
The shame.
The head teacher are called the parents.
Head teacher. Leader of the teachers.
In the U.S., the principal. The principal held a meeting.
Principal. The principal person in charge.
How well you did in exams, your results.
Yep.
In the UK, you get marks. She got good marks in math.
Marks out of 100. Or percentages.
But in the U.S., you get grades. Usually letters. A, B, C.
Yeah.
You earn high grades.
Grades. Yeah, the grading system. Different way of expressing it.
Preparing for exams, that intense period of study.
Cramming. Yeah.
In the UK, it's called revision. She's doing revision for exams.
Revision. Revising the material.
In the U.S., it's just studying. Like, he's studying for finals.
Studying. Seems a bit broader, maybe. Revision feels specifically about going over old stuff.
Fair point.
Yeah.
And the year group you're in at secondary school. Towards the end,
Okay.
in the UK, you might be in the 6th form. She's in the sixth form. That's typically years 12 and 13.
Sixth form. A specific stage.
In the U.S., it's by grade number, so the equivalent would be 11th and 12th grade.
Spoot.
He's in 12th grade.
Just sequential numbers. Simpler maybe, but less traditional.
And that little pink or white block for rubbing out pencil mistakes?
The essential tool.
In the U.K., it's a rubber. I bet you use a rubber to fix the mistake.
A rubber.
In the U.S., it's an eraser. Grab an eraser. Careful with rubber in the U.S. It can sometimes refer to a condom.
Another potential awkward moment. Eraser is safer stateside.
Good tip. Okay, sports, the big one. Round ball, kicking game.
The beautiful game.
In the UK and most of the world, it's football. He plays football every weekend.
Football, obviously.
But in the US, because they have American football, they call it soccer. Shastoskas. She joined a soccer team.
Soccer, yeah, that's a well-known one. Because there's endless debate online.
Isn't it just? Right, bags. What a woman might carry her essentials in.
Right.
In the UK, generally a handbag. She left her handbag on the chair.
Handbag.
In the US, often a purse. Her purse was stolen. Though purse in the UK usually means just the small thing you keep money in inside the handbag.
Right, another nuance. US purse, UK handbag. UK purse, US wallet or coin purse, roughly.
Roughly, yeah. And that small bag worn around the waist, popular in the 80s, making a comeback.
Oh, those things.
In the UK, a bum bag, Safaston Bay. He wore a bum bag on holiday.
Bum bag. Because...
Well, you know.
But in the US, it's a fanny pack. A fanny pack. She carried her phone in a fanny pack. Again, be careful, fanny has a very different, much ruder meaning in the UK.
Low tier, yes. Fanny pack is definitely US-only terminology you'd want to use. Bum bag is safer internationally.
Absolutely. Healthcare. Visiting your local doctor for a checkup.
Okay. In the UK, you often go to the local surgery. She went to the local surgery. Even if no actual surgery happens there, it's the building.
The surgery, right.
In the US, it's the doctor's office. SS to Sarah's office. He called the doctor's office. Surgery in the US almost exclusively means the operation itself.
Yeah, going to the surgery in the US would sound like you're heading for an operation theater. Doctor's office is clear.
Public transport in cities. Underground rail systems.
Like the tube in London.
Exactly. In the UK, generally the underground. Starnampton, or the tube specifically in London. Take the underground to King's Cross.
Underground. Makes sense.
In the US, it's usually the subway. I use the subway every day.
Subway. Also logical.
Personal grooming. Getting your hair cut or styled.
Pampering time.
In the UK, often a salon. She has an appointment at the salon.
Salon.
In the US, you might also hear beauty parlor. She's at the beauty parlor. Salon is common too, but parlor has a slightly more maybe traditional ring to it sometimes.
Yeah, maybe. Salon feels a bit more modern, or unisex perhaps.
Yeah.
Parlor sounds a bit more old school beauty shop.
Fair enough. And finally, job hunting. That document summarizing your experience and qualifications.
The crucial paper.
In the UK, it's your CV. Stands for Curriculum Vitae. Send in your CV.
CV, standard.
In the US, it's usually called a resume. Tarches of vite. Update your resume.
Resume, from the French for summary.
Although a CV in the US sometimes refers to a much longer, more detailed document used in academia. So a standard US resume is generally shorter than a standard UK CV.
That's a really important distinction for anyone applying for jobs internationally. Tailor it.
Absolutely. And wow, that's our 50 pairs. We've covered quite a bit of ground there.
We really have, from lawyers to lorries to nappies, diapers.
Exactly. Yeah. Hopefully this deep dive has, cleared up a few things and maybe given you a better sense of those little differences.
It really highlights how the same language can evolve in parallel, doesn't it? Shaped by different histories, different cultures.
It really does. It's not just vocabulary. It's like tiny windows into cultural nuances.
Mm-hmm.
So a final thought for you listening. As you go about your week, maybe watching a movie, reading something online, or even chatting with someone, see if you can spot some of these.
Yeah, notice the differences.
And maybe think about why they might be different. What does it tell us about the places and the people? It just shows language is always alive, always changing.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating ongoing process.
Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're taking a fascinating journey into the English language. Specifically, we're looking at about 30 common verbs that Well, they act quite differently depending on if you're hearing British or American English.
Yeah, it's a really interesting area. We're looking at a curated list, basically, focusing on these differences.
Right, and the aim is really to unpack these variations, vocabulary, how they're used, sometimes even the past tense forms.
Exactly. It's all about giving you a clearer picture of both dialects.
And maybe help understand why these differences pop up.
Precisely. Understanding these, well, nuances, it can genuinely stop confusion.
Definitely.
And it adds precision, Plus, it offers some really fascinating insights into how language evolves.
We're hoping for some practical knowledge, quick and thorough, and maybe uncover some of those aha moments for you.
Yeah, those moments where you suddenly go, oh, that's why they say it like that.
Okay, so where should we start? Maybe with something that catches people out quite a bit.
Good idea. How about verbs with different past tense forms? That's a common one.
Perfect. Let's dive in. First example, how about burn?
Classic. Okay, so in British English, you're quite likely to hear burnt.
Right, like, oops, I burnt the toast.
Exactly. But switch over to American English, and you'll almost always hear burned.
She burned the toast. Same unfortunate outcome for the toast.
Yes, the toast suffers either way, but just a slightly different verb form.
And it's not alone, is it? Learn does something similar.
It does. You'll often hear learnt in the UK. He learnt Spanish quickly.
Whereas in the U.S., it's usually learned. He learned Spanish quickly.
And what's interesting, actually, is that a lot of older English verb forms ended in T.
Okay.
And it seems British English has sort of held on to some of those more than American English has.
That makes sense. Okay, what about dream? We all dream.
Right. British English often uses dreamt. I dreamt I could fly.
A common one. And American English
tends towards dreamed. I dreamed I could fly. Again, a small difference, but noticeable.
Yeah, definitely noticeable. And, both forms are generally understood everywhere, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's not usually a barrier to communication. It's more about preference.
Yeah.
What sounds natural in that region.
Like with spoil.
Exactly. Someone in the UK might say, oh dear, the milk's spoiled.
While in the US, you'd probably hear, the milk's spoiled.
Same result, sadly. Spoiled milk is spoiled milk.
Let's talk senses. Smell.
Good one. Often smelt in British English. It smelt funny in here.
Compared to smelled in American English, it smelled funny in here.
Yeah. It kind of feels like there's a bit of a trend in American English, maybe, towards making more verbs regular, adding that id.
That's a great point. Does spell fit that too?
It does. She spelt it wrong. It's quite common in the UK.
But in the U.S.?
Usually she spelled it wrong.
Yes.
It's one of those little giveaways sometimes of where someone's from or where they learned English.
Now, dive is interesting. It's not quite the same pattern.
Right. Because dived, D-I-V-E, is correct and used in both places. He dived into the pool. But in American English, you very often hear dove, D-O-V-E. He dove into the pool.
So an irregular form that's stuck around more in the U.S.
Seems like it. It's fascinating how these irregular forms can sometimes become more common in one dialect while the regular form takes over in another. Shows language is always, shifting.
Okay, so that covers some key past tense differences. Let's move on. What about verbs where the core meaning is the same, but the usage, maybe the frequency or the situation, differs?
Yeah, good category. Get is a prime example here.
Oh, definitely. God is everywhere in both, right?
Absolutely. But American English uses gotten a lot more.
Right. Especially when talking about acquiring something or a change happening.
Exactly. Like, he's gotten much better, or have you gotten the results yet? You hear that much more in the U.S.
Whereas in the UK, it would usually be, he's got much better, or have you got the results?
Precisely. Gotten isn't totally absent in British English, but it's, well, less common and maybe feels a bit more formal or specific when it does appear. A subtle marker.
Okay. What about fit?
Fit is interesting. The past tense is often just fit in both. The glove fit perfectly. But when you're talking specifically about clothing size in the U.S., you'll often hear fitted, like the tailor fitted him for a new suit, or that jacket fitted well.
Okay. So fitted becomes a bit more specialized for clothes in the U.S.
Things that way, yeah.
And then there's quit.
Right. Quit is the most common past tense everywhere. He quit his job.
But quitted exists.
It does. Q-U-I-T-T-E-D. It's generally less common in both dialects, but you might hear it or see it in writing, perhaps a bit more readily in American English, though still rare.
So quit is the safer bet, usually.
Definitely.
Okay, let's switch gears. How about verbs used in common phrases or collocations, where the words just naturally go together differently?
Oh, yeah. This is where everyday language really shows its variations, like installing software.
Right. We'd all understand installing software.
Sure.
Yeah.
But in the U.S., you might also frequently hear setting up software.
Ah, setting up. Okay. A slightly different preference.
Just a slight nuance.
Oh.
Then there's the phone.
Mm-hmm. How we talk about calling someone.
In the UK, it's very normal to say, I'll phone you or give me a ring later.
Phone and ring as verbs.
Yeah. But in the US, it's almost always call. I'll call you later. Call me when you arrive.
That's a really clear one. And posting letters.
Another classic. In the UK, you post a letter. Need to pop this in the post.
Well, in the US, you mail a letter. Can you mail this for me?
Same action, totally different verb choice. Being aware of these common collocations helps you sound more natural. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, now what about verbs where the choice depends on the object? Like whether you're talking about a person or a thing.
Yes, hire is a great example.
How so?
Well, in the UK, you can hire a person, like employ them. We need to hire a new assistant. And you can also hire a thing, like a car. Let's hire a car for the weekend.
Right. But in the US?
You definitely hire a person. They hired a fantastic designer. But for the car, you'd almost always rent it. Let's rent a car.
So hire people, rent things, generally speaking in the US.
That's the common pattern, yeah. It shows how the verb choice is tied to the object.
Interesting. And speaking of rent, does that verb itself have different vibes?
It can, yeah, especially concerning time frame. In the UK, if you talk about renting property, it often implies a longer term. They rent a house in the suburbs, usually means, living there.
Okay.
In the US, rent can be long-term too, renting an apartment, but it's also very commonly used for short-term things. Let's rent a cabin for the weekend, or even rent skis for the day.
So rent in the US covers a broader time range, potentially.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. The context is important, but the default assumption about duration might differ slightly.
Good to know. Right, let's move to cases where British and American English just tend to prefer completely different verbs, even though they mean the same thing. Synonyms, basically.
Yeah, plenty of these. Think about repairing something.
Okay.
In the UK, you might ask someone, can you mend this hole in my jumper? Using mend.
Right. Men.
In the US, the go-to verb is almost always fix. Can you fix this? Mend is understood, but sounds a bit quaint, maybe, or very specific to sewing.
Kicks feels more general purpose in the US.
Exactly. What about disagreements?
Ah. In the UK, people might have our row, R-O-W. They had a big row last night.
Meaning an argument.
Yep. And in the US?
You'd just say argue. They argued last night. Row, meaning argue, isn't really common US usage.
Got it. And how about expressing, well, liking someone?
This is a fun one. In the UK, saying I fancy someone means you like them, often in a romantic way. He really fancies her.
Okay,
In the US, the direct way to say that is just, I like him, or I have a crush on her. Fancy in the US usually means wanting something. Do you fancy a drink? Or perhaps elaborate, a fancy restaurant. It doesn't typically carry that like meaning for people.
So using fancy for attraction is very British.
Very much so. These preferred synonyms really show how vocabulary evolves differently.
No. You mentioned confusion earlier. Are there verbs where the same word means drastically different things? Potentially awkward things?
Oh, absolutely. And this next one is probably the most famous or infamous example, the verb knock up.
Okay, knock up. How does that differ?
Right. In British English, to knock someone up simply means to wake them by knocking on their door. Quite innocent. Could you knock me up at 6:30 tomorrow?
Okay, like an old-fashioned alarm call.
Exactly. But in American English,
Well.
knock up is slang for getting someone pregnant.
Oh, right. That's a significant difference.
Huge difference. Easily the source of major misunderstandings, potentially very embarrassing ones.
So context is absolutely crucial there. And maybe avoid using it if you're unsure of your audience.
Extremely crucial. Yes, probably best to err on the side of caution with that one.
Wow. Okay. Let's move to safer ground, perhaps. Phrasal verbs. Combinations of verbs and prepositions. Lots of variation here, too, right?
Someday. Phrasal verbs are a goldmine for dialect differences. Take flirting, for instance.
Okay.
In the UK, you might hear about someone chatting someone up. He spent all evening trying to chat her up.
Right. Chat up.
In the US, the common equivalent is hit on. He was hitting on her all night.
Chat up versus hit on. Got it.
Same basic idea, different phrasal verb preference.
What about visiting someone informally?
In the UK, you might pop round or pop in. I'll pop round later for a cuppa. It implies a quick, casual visit.
Pop round. Sounds very British.
It does, doesn't it? The U.S. equivalent would be more like drop by or swing by. Feel free to drop by anytime.
Drop by. Okay. Both sound casual, just different phrasing.
And reprimanding someone, telling them off.
In the UK, we literally say tell off. My mom told me off for being late.
Makes sense. In the U.S., while tell off is understood, a more common verb is probably scold. The teacher scolded the student. Or maybe chew out for something more informal and strong.
Scold. Okay. Interesting.
Again, same core meaning reprimand, but different common expressions.
Now, what about a single verb like chat? Does its main association differ?
That's a subtle but interesting one. Chat. In the UK, I think chat still strongly evokes an in-person, maybe relaxed spoken conversation. We had a nice chat over coffee.
Right.
In the U.S., while it definitely includes face-to-face talk, chat, also very strongly, perhaps even primarily for some people, brings to mind online communication. Texting, instant messaging, let's chat later could easily mean text.
Ah, so the digital context is maybe more dominant in the U.S. usage of chat.
It feels that way, yeah, reflecting how integrated online communication is.
Okay. Here's a grammatical one. Auxiliary verbs, or helping verbs. Any differences there?
Yes, a subtle one sometimes occurs with things being lost or missing. In the UK, you might hear, oh no, my keys have gone missing, using go.
Missing.
Or as in the US, the more standard phrasing is, my keys are missing, using be.
Are missing. It's a small structural difference in the verb phrase.
Exactly. It shows variations even in the grammar around the verbs.
Let's talk everyday actions. Waiting.
Ah, yes. In the UK, people form or stand in a queue, Q-U-E-E, and the verb is to queue. We had a queue for tickets.
Right, the queue. Very British.
It is. In the US, you wait in line or stand in line or you line up. Line is the key word. Get in line. We waited in line forever.
Queue is understood in the US, but sounds quite formal or foreign, maybe.
Yeah, it's not the everyday term you'd typically use.
Okay. How about washing? Specifically baths.
Another small but consistent one. In the UK, you have a bath. I'm going to have a nice hot bath.
Whereas in the US,
you take a bath. The kids need to take a bath.
Have a bath, take a bath. Simple difference, but very common.
Often one of the first things people notice.
Even set phrases can vary slightly, can't they? Like making decisions.
Yes. In the UK, you might sometimes hear, take a decision, especially in more formal or business contexts. The board will take a decision next week.
Okay, take a decision.
But in the US, the standard, almost universal phrase is, make a decision. We need to make a decision soon.
Make a decision feels much more common overall, even in the UK now, perhaps.
Possibly, yes. But take a decision is still certainly out there as a British variant.
Right. And finally, one more common area, employment ending.
Ah, yes. Losing your job. In the UK, a common informal term is to be sacked or get the sack. He got sacked yesterday.
Sacked.
In the US, the equivalent common term is to be fired or get fired. She was fired for misconduct.
Fired. Again, different vocabulary for the same unpleasant event.
Exactly.
Wow. So we've covered quite a range there, from past tenses to completely different words.
We have, and it really underscores that while it's all English, it's incredibly rich and varied.
These differences between British and American English, even in just these 30 or so common verbs, are, well, subtle sometimes, but significant.
Definitely. And paying attention, knowing these variations, it really can make your communication clearer, more effective.
Yeah, hopefully walking through these has given you some of those aha moments we talk about.
Understanding why you might read one thing but hear another, or why something you say might sound slightly off in a different place.
So the key takeaway is really about appreciating this variety.
Absolutely. You've hopefully got a deeper feel now for these specific verbs, and that equips you with practical knowledge to navigate these dialects better.
And maybe just appreciate the intricacies of the language itself.
Yeah, it's constantly evolving.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. How might these small language differences, like choosing fix over mend or cue over line up, how might they reflect broader cultural viewpoints? Or perhaps trace back to different historical paths the language took?
Ooh, that's a deep question.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other tiny variations in language might actually open up surprising windows into different cultures or histories?
Definitely food for thought. Language is so much more than just words.
Indeed. Well, thanks for exploring the deep dive with us today.